This is the Nissan Qashqai, or also called Rogue Sport, one of the most successful SUVs worldwide. Well, why is this the case? We will find out here with the recent product update for you on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Today with Thomas. In exterior, interior and driving experience, Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Since the most recent update of the Rogue Sport or the Nissan Qashqai, the hood is a little bit lower, then also this front graphic is more continuous, goes more in the lower area here, so overall looks a little bit more, a little bit wider. And you also have the optional LED lights now, which we're also equipped here right now. You can see the Nissan logo is in 2D. That's because the sensor, for example, for the autonomous emergency brake and also for this so-called safety shield is also hidden there. And you got additional parking sensors in the lower part. And this color, by the way, is called Vivid Blue. To me, a true Thomas blue, as we call it here on Autogefühl. 4.37 meters or 14'3" is the total length of the Qashqai, a compact SUV. And not only the special color we have here, we also have a top trim. However, the car starts at 20,000 euros, for example, or similar dollar prices also. That's what makes it also so attractive. Then 35, for example, if you go with everything in it. Contrasting mirror caps here, 19-inch optional rims in two-color scheme. That looks pretty amazing. And also rather round shapes here, but then those strong shoulder lines right there makes it very dynamic for sure. In the rear, the design is harmonic and also horizontal oriented as well, here also with those tail lights. And what I found especially interesting is, first of all, we got the crossover black plastic style in the lower part, but then below that we don't find any fake exhaust like with so many other manufacturers. They have a design element right here, but they say, why should we show a fake exhaust anyway when we don't put the exhaust at the very end? So we just do some design elements here and don't pretend to show an exhaust. I think that's a clever and right decision. And again, I can just say the design of this compact SUV is surely among them, the most harmonic ones. Everything fits together. What do you think? So, engine choices. This is the 1.6-liter turbo petrol engine, 163 horsepower, just quite below 10 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, so decently fast. There's also a smaller 1.5 with 115 horsepower, or our guys in the US get a 2-liter natural aspirated engine with 140 horsepower. That one is also then with all-wheel drive. This one here just front-wheel drive. And there are also diesels, 1.5, 110 horsepower, 1.6, 130 horsepower. That one then also optional with automatic or all-wheel drive. And strange element, by the way, that here the strut, the manual strut, is actually put down right there. So that means when you close it up, it's fixed here. So it's actually at the lower point of the hood, and that can also get quite hot in this area. So pay attention to that. Let's take a look at the interior together. It's here at the inside of the doors. This is, by the way, also soft touch at the inside of the doors. Right there. Then the mirrors flip in and out automatically, but I can also do it like there. Then they have upgraded some parts of the interior. For example, there's a new steering wheel. Here now with a flat bottom. It looks sporty. It is sportier. A little bit inspired by the GTR steering wheel, also with new commands at the steering wheel. Then there are also new seats available. Those ones are the top seats in the Techna Plus level, only with animal skin surface. Visually, I think they've done a quite good job here. looks quite fancy, but you'll also be fine with the base fabric seats. You can save the money for that. Then also with memory function, that of course comes quite handy, and electric controls right there. Then let me get inside, of course with the shoe tab. And it is basically a comfortable seating position. Headroom wise, I'm 1.86 or 6'1". There's not much left, just a little bit. Here also with panoramic roof inbuilt. I think you won't save too much headroom if you don't have it, because it's not a one that you can open. You just can close it. But of course, always leaving out the panoramic roofs gives you a little bit more headroom. And again, if it's a really one that you can open, even more headroom you lose when you have it, or gain when you don't have it. The steering wheel can be adjusted in all ways. That's pretty nice, and I really like the new steering wheel. It makes the car so much worthier. It looked really cheap before, and especially the steering wheel, you're always looking at it, it's directly in front of you, such a key element. Seating position again is good, upright, as you know from the SUV. This is already, you know, a true SUV. There are a lot of other different lower crossovers. This one already gives you this typical SUV feeling when you want that typical SUV feeling. So here we go with the interior. The top part here is from Soft Touch. That's quite nice. Some decor elements right there. This one still looks a little bit old school. It's the top GPS you can get. Also, it, you know, when it's clean, it's quite okay, but when it's bright outside, you sometimes can hardly see what you're doing actually. This new steering wheel, again from this perspective, is the top part here. I really think that looks so much better than the rather plain one before. Classic analog instruments, soon more details to that. You still, this is by the way saying me that they want to turn off the ignition to save battery very soon. Then in the lower part you can have the vents. This is a classic unit to vent strength and also with a temperature to control it like this. Everything is really easy to learn with this vehicle. A very unpretentious vehicle in the first place. You know, that's what I see. And a very high shifting lever, so you can easily reach it. Also typical for the Qashqai and for the X-Trail. In the front, some more space right there. Electric handbrake. You can also have the auto hold function that is always getting activated and deactivated automatically. Pretty good actually. And here we go with the instruments, totally analog, but you can see here consumption 6.4 liters. That's actually pretty low, so I'm really satisfied with that on the small digital screen in the middle. You can see the inside of the doors, they do work somewhat also with bigger bottles. And once more, the climate unit for you in close-up, and below that, as I said, some room to put things. Then it's a nice illumination here at the middle console from inside and outside. I can also show you how it looks like at night. Then we continue further to those cup holders. They're not adaptive, so not holding all things very tight. You can also put the smartphone in there. Seat heating optional to be controlled right there. And then there's this middle armrest. You can either put the right button, then this one opens with the top part, or when you close it and then put the left button, then everything opens. Or you can just put the right and then the other thing falls down. But this is also now more firmly attached. They have worked a little bit on the build quality. And then here we have one USB slot to charge your phone, for example, right there. And a lot of room more under the middle console, for example, for another big bottle. Sadly, well, if you plug in your phone there, there's no smartphone mirroring, only Bluetooth connection so far available. Infotainment system in detail. You see the reaction time is pretty weird, so yeah, you can do so much with it. Putting in the this destination, that's fine. Other than that, good is, by the way, that we can change to the night mode pretty easily when it's too bright, driving at night, or you can also have it automatic. Then there's also a separate camera button. This is quite handy to have this 360 degree view right there, fake drone view from above. You can also tip, you can tip right there. That would have been too good actually. But you can also switch around, so I can show you some footage from the basement garage. When you're close to an object, then it automatically switches around. This is actually a quite nice function then. So when I'm getting to the rear now, here the rear part is rather hard plastic. But I mean, that's basically with all of the vehicles. Knee room wise, it's not the best package. I mean, it's not the longest car, but still the front seats are quite voluminous. That might be different with base seats I recommended you earlier. Then they're maybe a little bit slimmer. So, but this doesn't work for me when I'm driving in the front, hitting the knees here at the front. Also headroom wise, hitting my head here at the ceiling, doesn't work for 4 tall adults. That's really too bad. Flipping the seat goes from here like this. You cannot change the angle. We got the same nice seat design in the rear. However, of course, questionable material. Isofix on the outer parts right there. And you also have a third seat in the middle part. The middle tunnel is not too big. You can sit here somewhat. I even have more headroom in the middle part, but of course it's still pretty cramped in there. So the X-Trail of course has a little bit more room. That would be a reason when you're going with rear passengers quite often. Some more cup holders here, but not that holding tight, not that adaptive. The third seat belt, and that's basically it from here. Of course you can enjoy the panoramic roof if you have that one built in, especially also from the rear passengers, but rather for smaller people and for kids here definitely in the rear. So let's open the trunk area right here, and you can see you have decent space in width, not so much in height because they have put this covers in here to have even loading space, but that's good to get things in and out easier. I just don't know why have they done this two split. Well, maybe that you can do this, for example, put a backpack in here that stands upright, so that's quite handy to use it that way, to split the trunk also here in the rear then. So now as I'm seeing this, I start to like the idea because, well, if you want to take them out, then you have to do like the front and the back separately. That's not so handy, but then again, this function here I really like. And below that you can actually, and then it starts to get a little bit strange. Below that you can actually put a replacement tire. At the moment the Bose sound system is in there, the optional one. Which gives you a quite decent sound, nothing too spectacular though. And then again, I think it's good that they have the cover right there, that we have an even loading space, or then again the split. Here you can see already it's a 2/3, 1/3 split. I have to go around, you cannot flip them from the trunk like this. Also then an even loading space rather further. So that looks quite good. And to show the maximum loading capacity right there, let me flip the other seat, and here we go. Welcome to our driving part with the Nissan Qashqai, or also called Thomas' driving launch. So we're getting on the motorway first. You see this 1.6 liter turbo petrol engine was delivering a quite smooth performance. So I'm really satisfied by that. I also put a digital speedometer, if you can maybe see that. Easy follow the speed. So we're at 100 at the moment. This is the lane departure warning, so they upgraded also some of the assistance systems. Also have the blind spot monitor equipped right here. So when a car is approaching, I then get this yellow warning right now. There it is. So that's a very helpful feature, definitely. It's also inside, so some manufacturers put it on the outside on the mirror. They just put it inside. There's a six-speed manual gearbox here. So if I put it in 6th gear and then drive about 80 between 90, we're at just under 2000 RPM. You might hear already, already hear that on microphone. It's pretty loud here in the cabin, so that's not the best in the segment. They have improved it a little bit here now to, in the most recent facelift, because the rear windows have been insulated a little bit better. So it's a little step forward, but still, it's surely not the best. So other of the competitors are better in this respect. Due to the tuned suspension, We get a little bit more control here on the motorway. So also when I'm getting off the motorway here, it's feeling less wobbly. I'm more in control, feels sportier. So obviously I thought, you know, it's maybe a little bit too soft before, so let's make it a little bit stiffer. But actually, I think they get it a little bit too stiff, because I was already testing it, you know, with some worse road conditions, and like really like bam, bam, bam. So I found it very uncomfortable overall. So the suspension is definitely the biggest weakness of this vehicle. It is somewhat fun to drive, no question, and as I said, it's not that unsporty overall. But I think they should have better suspension comfort. That's really key, and you know, one of the most important aspects of a car, at least to me. So this is a thing they really have to work on. You really get, you know, everything gets transported through the seats into your back. Then basically, when the roads are bad, you won't really feel if the roads are super well done where you live, but you feel them as soon as they go in those potholes, and it's also rattling in the interior. So not sure if you hear that on camera, but you know, from somewhere we always get those noises when we're going over some bumps. They also reworked the steering characteristic in the most recent facelift, so it's a little bit more direct. Not only steering wheel changed, also the steering characteristic. That feels more natural now. Before that, it was super artificial, so you didn't feel any connection between steering, car, and road. Now, actually, it's really fine. You know, it's not the most direct one, but you can see here you can have fun. The suspension is reacting in a sportier way, and it fits also to this visual part of the now sportier steering wheel. However, it's still easy to control when you're parking in and out and stuff, so you can, you know, just ease it around. You don't need much power to steer it overall. The overview is actually quite good. To the rear, upright windows to the sides, well, in this case, due to the glass roof, also to the top part. And, well, the B pillar is also not too thick, the A pillar is not too thick, so it's overall a good standard setup, definitely. The engine, by the way, gives me really a lot of power. So this one here, the you know, basically the top engine, as you have this turbo, and you can also get along with the smaller engine. That will be no problem. Of course, if you drive a lot of motorway and need some more acceleration, or you're driving with heavier load, then it might also make sense to pick the bigger petrol engine. As for consumption, it's not too bad either. So this one, by the way, you know, the blind spot monitor warning me when I set the indicator. Then we also heard an acoustic sound. So visual warning when something is just approaching, and when you then set the indicator, which you should always do, still there's something coming, then you also have this acoustic warning. I think that's pretty intelligent that they did it that way. So consumption-wise, you can score 6.5 liters. I have it just right here, 6.6 at the moment. If you drive it rather gently, so 7 could be a rather more realistic figure, which is for a compact SUV still somewhat reasonable. So it's not super good, but it's not bad at all. So I think we can live with it. So now acceleration 30, just quarter of throttle, good response here from the engine. And I think also the sound is quite refined. It's not too loud in the interior engine-wise. So overall, this car gives you, somewhat a good standard feeling. It's not screaming out too much, doesn't want to be anything specific, and it's very unpretentious also in driving. So super uncomplicated, everyone gets along with it pretty fast. This shifting stick, by the way, is pretty high, so you can easily reach it from everywhere because they put the middle console rather low. You can put in the gears pretty easily, so there's not much resistance or something. So overall also satisfied with the manual gearbox. There are some engine specs, as I told you earlier, which are also available with the automatic gearbox. So at least you have the option then to go for that one too, depending on the different engines. Now we're getting slowly into the next motorway apart again, and I can show you one more acceleration. Lower speeds, of course, sound of the insulation is not a problem, but you will hear it now when I'm getting a little bit faster. But besides the suspension, I think they did a quite good job in refining this vehicle with the product updates. So I'm quite happy with that. You also have a cruise control here, and I've tested it later. Earlier. When I was running down a hill and the speed was not kept, but the car was just rolling. I'm not sure if you would like that, but the problem is when I said like at 53, I think, I don't have to care about speed cameras. Then we're going down a hill and I think, the ACC is keeping the speed. Suddenly I'm at 65 or 70 and then bam, speed camera. That can happen. So you have to bear that in mind. That it's not reducing the speed. So just holding it for the throttle. When you roll downhill, then you're accelerating anyway. So, but now, speaking about acceleration, I go from third gear now, from 80 to 100. Let's go. That's it. So you see this turbo also gives you some flexibility when you're on the motorway. Even, for example, in the higher gear, you can still accelerate. Let's put it now in the 6th gear again at 100 and use the cruise control. Just 100 kilometers an hour and at 2000 RPM. So the engine stays relatively calm. And here now at steady 100, when I compare it with the pre-facelift, yes, it is more silent. But again, that might also be due to this panoramic roof. Let's see. That I hear, some echo. Let's close that one and see if this is any different. Because it's of course cloth cover from the inside and that should reduce the echo. Yeah, I think a little bit. Do you hear the difference on microphone? I think it does reduce the echo quite a bit because this huge glass layer is not really helpful as for the sound characteristic then. Then again, it's nice to have light in the interior, especially on darker days. So here we go again. But this is definitely making a difference. So that could be a tip when you maybe on longer motorway turns. You just say, okay, I want a little bit better sound insulation. So in this case, then I leave the roof or this cover closed. So quite a helpful thing. Now you're also at the motorway. That's where the suspension setup plays a good role then, here on those motorway corners. So I'm getting actually a good response now from the car. It's also fun to keep it then in the lane. Let's also go off the motorway here and then a little bit faster. See how agile the car is then. Using a little bit of engine brake. Now at about 80. Yeah, that was quite well handled. Well, it was just a garage. We were falling off here, but nothing any special. The trunk in the rear, maybe if you heard that, the surface is also pretty thick. And I found that recently with a lot of Japanese cars that they put a lot of just thick fabric surfaces on the trunk ground. And then when you put luggage in there, it's always going left, right, bang, 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 bang. So they should maybe think about something which is a little bit stickier then. That the stuff doesn't roll around that much. That could be pretty helpful. But this get off from the motorway is really interesting because there is like a line separating the one service ground from the other, just going across the street, and that is sometimes putting the cars a little bit to the left and to the outside of the corner. And this car here now handled it quite well. So definitely I have a more agile, sportier ride. But then again, when the roads are good, that's totally fine. It's more fun. When the roads are bad, this is less fun. But overall, I think you have the upright seating position. You're in this SUV. You still have somewhat a sporty ride. Besides the rolling comfort, there's not a field where this car would score super badly. And considering again the price you pay for it, it explains why this car is overall so successful, because the price-performance ratio is still pretty decent. And now to our conclusion for today here with the Qashqai or Rogue Sport with the recent facelift. Well, exterior, very dynamic, great color here of course today, but overall the design I think is really on point and very modern. The interior is rather unpretentious, so they didn't do too much there. Some tweaks, some updates, but nothing too fancy. Overall, I think it's still somewhat a good package. Even, in the driving, let's say rather neutral, standard driving experience. It's a little bit sportier now since the recent suspension update, but to me it's a little bit uncomfortable, so the weakest point is the suspension comfort to me with this vehicle. But overall, it scores everything quite well considering the price. So the overall package from the price-performance ratio is still attractive. That also makes this car so successful. Now, what about your opinion? Tune in the comment section and also tune in next time to Autogefühl. Thank you for watching.